napkins and so forth, your repairs and replacements and the cost of your gas. And after those costs, you'll probably be left with about a 10% margin, and that would be fantastic through 2009 and 2010. Well, bar operations are an important part of club operations and typically deliver some fairly good surpluses if managed correctly. We recommend a 65% gross profit as a bare minimum, and for wages to be 20% or less than bar and beverage revenues. Maybe shoot for 68% gross profit and 18% wages. Now, if you make that extra 5% and your sales are $1 million, then your bottom line will be enhanced by $50,000. We recommend that you pass on your price increases, your wholesale price increases, straight away. Look for the upper end of the recommended retail prices as well. Don't engage in apologetic pricing regimes. Like catering, very important to have strong procedures around stock receipt, stock take, storage of product, and to maintain spot checks. And again, like catering, to establish and maintain past stock levels to make it easier to order and maintain stock. Most large clubs now operate fairly sophisticated point-of-sale systems, and we would encourage all clubs to move towards this. It's not uncommon for large clubs, any club for that matter, to build up redundant stock, and I think it's very important to get rid of redundant stock fairly regularly, because that can just build up over time and take up valuable storage space. Roughly, if one particular stock item accounts for 10% of your sales, then you would want at least 10% of that of your shelving space to be occupied by that stock, and you'd want that stock item to be in a fairly prominent and significant space within your bar operation. So there's a fair bit of science around how to stock a bar and what shelving space to devote to particular stock items, and think about that and in the context of effective bar operations. In terms of making sure that your wages are 20% or even less than 20% of your bar sales or bar revenue, we'd suggest these items to think about. First of all, training, and the efficiencies you can get out of effective training will benefit the club in the longer term. Bar layout is very important. We must make sure that the equipment that we give our bar staff actually works. And of course, set rosters to a budget and monitor those budgets and monitor those rosters, and cost the rosters and make sure that a particular manager is responsible for delivering wages within a budget. Well, now's the time to review all your marketing and promotional activity. When business is strong and buoyant, we tend to accumulate marketing activity. Instead of rationalising one particular promotion, we tend to add to it, and we end up with a whole bag, a glad bag of promotional activities. Now, often this activity amounts to more than 10% of your total revenues, but we think it should be less than 7% for the business to run effectively and efficiently. We know that people will typically go to a venue that is the most convenient to the place where they live, and so it stands to reason, therefore, that we should be communicating mostly with the people who live within 3 to 5 kilometres of our venue. The best results, we think, come from marketing activity that has a call to action. In other words, it has a range of offers. Cut this token out and receive 2 for the price of 1. Measure the impact that it has on sales, on number of customers through the door. And that'll give you some indication as to what works, what doesn't, and what you might try again and what you might actually leave off your marketing plan. If you're going to engage in a major promotional activity or a giveaway, you'll want to know, you'll want to have some targets as to what sort of impact that should have on your sales in various areas and, of course, your bottom line. Well, the 8th essential that I'd like to talk about is really an intangible, and it's about measuring the culture or enhancing the culture, the mood of the staff and the general feeling within the human resources and the management of your venue. And that's not easy to do, changing the culture, but it has enormous impacts on the way you do business, how you treat your customers and your bottom line. Respect for not only the club, not only the members, but just respect for fellow staff members and colleagues is essential. And there's a range of training and programs that can be used in order to enhance and develop culture within an organisation. Now, in terms of managing culture, we suggest that this may well be achieved through training and ongoing skills development, management committee setting good examples for all members of the staff, through monitoring and rewarding good practices and good behaviour of your staff and management and board. It's about setting minimum standards and documenting those standards and procedures around those standards. I think that all staff, right down to the person who washes the plates, probably needs to know a little bit more about your business. It's not only the committee that needs to know about the profit and loss or sales or the business performance, but every staff member needs to know about how the business works and how the business is travelling. Of course, the club should be broken up into its key operating departments, and I've talked about that. And that the report should, at the very least, and certainly financial and operating reports, should be at the very least measured against budget and compared with the same period last year. And benchmarking is always important, and trying to strive to achieve or better average business benchmarks for the industry. It's vital that capital expenditure is maintained even during economic tough times. Now, capital expenditure may need to be deferred, or it may need to be trimmed or reviewed. It's very important to include a business case with every major piece of capital investment. If you're going to spend $1 million, $2 million, $5 million on some new area within your organisation, within your club, do a business case. Work out what the do-nothing scenario is in terms of your profit. And the business case is all about projecting what the profit might be if you actually engage in this piece of capital investment. If you spend, for example, $1 million, it stands to reason that you'd want to enhance your profit by at least $150,000 or a 15% return on investment. And then finally, I would suggest that all clubs should engage independent assessment when leading up to major capital investment programs. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to seeing you sometime in the not too distant future.